in Vienna, and the UAE is to present its plans at the gathering this week.
And so, to get a better grip on this effective but potentially dangerous energy source, Priyanka Dutt sat down with Justin Dargin, a nuclear energy analyst from Harvard. She began by asking him why more and more countries are choosing to take the nuclear path.
Nuclear power does have significant benefits. One of the ways that it benefits energy production is that it emits minimal amounts of carbon. So as a result, as the world is attempting to decarbonize or to move away from reliance upon hydrocarbon fuels, if we use nuclear energy, then we would be one step further in order to decarbonize the world's economy. So that's one of the major reasons why nuclear energy is viewed as beneficial by many corners. Nuclear energy does provide relatively stable energy in the sense of power production.
Well, you've spoken about the advantages of nuclear power, but there are considerable risks, as Japan has showed us in the last couple of weeks. Could that catastrophe have been avoided because safety measures were in place?
What happened with the Fukushima nuclear plant was that they had a wall that was built, and then the risk assessments that were undertaken before never had any idea that there would be a wave generated by a tsunami that would be as high as the wall. So the wave crashed over the wall, and then of course it flooded the plant and so on. And then the automatic sensors and the automatic system kicked in immediately, although then you start to have cascading problems. What could have been done? Well, it all depends on your risk assessments when you develop a nuclear power plant. On one hand, you want to make nuclear energy affordable. So you don't want to make electricity prices too high for people. So I mean, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place to a certain extent. You want to have robust safety measures, but each safety measure that you place or each regulation that you promulgate is an added cost. And of course, this cost is going to be passed on to consumers. So that's one of the issues. You could make your risk assessments whereby the nuclear power plant is nearly impenetrable, a fortress, but then the power generator would be nearly too expensive for anyone to afford. So you have to find a type of middle ground. And the thing is, certain unexpected disasters will happen. So the world has to consider whether it will live with the risk that at some point in the future there will be another nuclear accident. So is it worth the risk in order to decarbonize our economies and thus attempt to mitigate the impact of global warming? So is global warming the greatest risk for us, or is the risk of another Fukushima?
Now, after this disaster at Fukushima, most countries are reassessing their nuclear programs. As we speak, the UK is reviewing its nuclear program. You think, is that what we're going to see across the world now?
After Fukushima, we see many European countries, what they have proposed is, each country has proposed a different strategy. On one hand, some countries have proposed to implement a type of stress test on their nuclear plants. Okay, I think the European Union is actually considering this, to have a European-wide nuclear stress test. So basically to see whether all the nuclear power plants in the European Union would basically be able to stand up to any type of a natural disaster. That's one issue. And other countries have also been, have reassessed their nuclear plans. Some have canceled plans, some have suspended the nuclear power plans.
What about the UAE? The same week as Japan happened, the UAE and Korea entered a deal starting their nuclear project.
Well, the plans in the UAE are quite advanced in terms of the 4 nuclear power plants that are supposed to be come online by 2019 or 2020. So I don't think that the Emirati authorities are going to step away from this as of yet, because nuclear power has formed a viable or actually an essential part of their energy plans for the future. So the long-term strategic vision for Emirati energy production has been based on these nuclear power plants. So I don't think that they're going to move away from this comprehensively, but what I do think is going to happen, there's definitely going to be renewed focus on safety standards.
Why do you think nuclear power is so important to the UAE? Where will be used the most?
Well, the UAE needs a nuclear program because of this robust industrialization drive that has been taking place over the past decade. So this has placed an enormous burden on the power sector, because as the U.S., you have to realize that whenever there's economic growth, there's also a very large increase in energy usage as well that comes with that. So, for instance, by about 2020, when UAE policymakers are looking towards the future, they see that the energy requirements of the country are going to be much higher than they are now. So nuclear energy is supposed to form a base of this renewable energy mix.
Now, coming back to something that has most people worried, radiation levels. I've been reading reports, there have been traces of radiation that can be traced to Fukushima, found in England, found on the west coast of the US. In fact, there was a report saying that traces of radiation are being found all over the northern hemisphere. Is there reason to panic?
Well, what's happening is that, yes, there has been radiation that has been detected around the globe, due, of course, to the Fukushima disaster. Although we have to realize that when we look at radiation that's been detected on the west coast of the United States, for instance, in California or England or what have you, these are very minimal amounts of radiation, extremely minimal amounts of radiation that do not pose a threat to human health or safety. So there has been radiation detected, but it's not a major issue. The main issue with Fukushima is that the more immediate environment is going to be contaminated for the foreseeable future.
Nuclear expert Justin Dargin there, talking about radiation levels following the incident at Japan's Fukushima nuclear plant.